What movie or series lit your fuse and made you have to tell stories on screen?
Wow. What movie? That's a really tricky one. I couldn't narrow it down to one movie in particular. I mean, I loved films that had good stories. I was too young to be into cinematography or performances or anything like that. I just loved things that were about stories that I enjoyed, things like Back to the Future. For me, I just thought it was so cool how he could go back and meet his parents. Robin Hood, the original Disney Robin Hood, the little Fox and the Vixen, I thought that was amazing. Like, I used to love that. I remember singing the songs as a kid. Bugsy Malone, I remember sitting down with my dad and he showed us his boys that when we were kids. But I think the thing that made me fall in love with cinema, and when I say cinema, I mean the props department, the costume department, hair and makeup, performances, director, cinematography, stunts. And this makes me not sound like someone who loves arty films, but it has to be Harry Potter. I was the perfect age for when those films started coming out. And I remember every year queuing up to get the book or to queue up to go to the cinema to watch the film. And I remember being so blown away that people did this for a living. And the behind the scenes of those films was always so entertaining and so interesting to watch. So that for me was a moment of like, wow, that is such an incredible world. But at that time was absolutely a world I didn't think I would ever exist in. So it didn't necessarily make me want to be there, but I was always in awe of it. So I think Harry Potter for me would absolutely be the stepping stone in which I fell in love with cinema. Funnily, when we were shooting Spider-Man 2, we shot at Leavesden Studios, which is where they shot all of the Harry Potter films. And they have an amazing attraction there, which is like it's like a set. It's basically like you walk around a film set and they have all the props and cameras and all the stuff that they used to use to make the films. And I got so emotional walking through it because it was such a huge part of my childhood that had only ever existed on the screen, on a page, or in my head, was now suddenly in front of me and was tangible. It was right there. And I was blown away. And I owe a lot to those films because they brought me so much joy and happiness throughout the years. So I'd have to say Harry Potter. It's interesting. People ask me all the time, they ask me this question, what was it that made you want to be an actor? And truth be told is I never wanted to be an actor. It's not something I ever wanted to do, but just purely because it didn't seem like a viable option for me. I was lucky enough to be cast as Billy Elliot in the West End through years of auditioning and training and doing ballet. And for me, at that point in my life, it wasn't about being an actor. It was just about, this would be really cool if I could do this show. And I was lucky enough to get the part. I did the show for 2 years. And when I sort of graduated from that show, my parents were like, do you want to get an agent? And I was sort of like, yeah, sure. If someone wants to sign me, then yeah, I'll get an agent. But I think I probably should go back to school. And then I got an agent and I went for my first audition. My first audition was for this film called The Impossible. I was lucky enough to get that role. And it wasn't until I was working with Naomi Watts day in and day out, and we were doing really difficult stuff, that I thought, well, maybe this is what I was supposed to do. Maybe like, this is what the world's been trying to tell me, is that I should be an actor. Like, I've been trying to push this away for so long, but it seems like it keeps finding me again. And this relationship I had with Naomi was so wonderful and so like a sort of mother-son. She was like the master and she was teaching me every day. I thought for the first time, I really thought like, wow, maybe I should try and do this for a living. And then I never looked back and I just sort of kept going.
On your way up, what movie or series did you watch that was so good it made you question if you could ever rise to that level?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. I mean, there's so many. There's so many films I look at and I wonder, how on earth did you do that? You know, Jamie Foxx in Ray is incredible. DiCaprio in basically everything that he does is incredible. But the thing for me that I've watched, and I still think to this day, is one of the trickiest performances I've ever seen, is Edward Norton in Primal Fear. And the way that he switches between the two characters is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And he is flawless in that movie. So for me, that is a role that I would like to one day try to obtain. I'm not sure that I am capable. I have a job that I'm working on at the moment that's been very, very early stages of development, which explores a similar sort of concept. And I sat down the other day to watch Primal Fear before I sort of agreed to the job, because I wanted to see if it was still as good as I remembered, and it was better, because now I know so much more about the business and about the process of being an actor. But it just made me really excited. When I signed on to Cherry, I was terrified at the idea of playing that character. For me, it was the subject matter. It was the workload. It was the losing the weight. It was the maintaining that really difficult emotional sort of journey that this person was going to go on. I just didn't think I could do it. I knew I could do it for a scene. I knew that, like, if I really push myself, I'll be able to get there for one scene, but I didn't know whether I could do it for 100 days in a row. So it just took a lot of preparation, and I was very lucky to have a team of people with me who were fantastic and supported me throughout the entire process. And also having the Russos in my corner. They know me arguably better than any directors do. So they knew when to push me and when to pull back. And I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. And I'm really, really excited for people to see it. When I was first playing Spider-Man, it's funny, I was talking about it the other day with Jacob and Zendaya. I was a child, but I was an absolute child. And I was so excited and caught up in the idea that I was playing my childhood superhero that nerves weren't a part of it. They were squashed by the excitement of playing this character. And then taking on a film like Cherry, obviously my profile is raised, and you know, there are people that will go and see the film because they want to see a film that I'm in, which is amazing. It just adds that next level of pressure, because you know that I've got to do justice to this character and to the stories of the people I'm trying to tell. And I hope that I can achieve that. So for me, it was there was a lot more pressure during the shoot of Cherry.
Whether it was your own work or approval from someone who mattered to you, what first gave you the confidence that you belonged?
This crazy business that we call Hollywood. I don't think I do belong, if I'm honest. I love it, and I love a lot of the people that are in it. But I'm still just a lad from London who loves to play golf, and I make movies every now and then. You know, I don't know. It's a weird thing. There are moments that I had a moment the other day where I was doing a scene on Spider-Man 3 with an actor, and it was really bad. It was a really bad scene, and there was something wrong with it, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I went away and I sat down, I had a pen, and I started tearing the script apart. I was writing. And then all of a sudden it hit me, and I was like, maybe that's what the scene should be about. So I went back to the director, I pitched him my idea, and he went, that's it. Right, let's sit down and rewrite this. So we sat down, we rewrote it with the other actor, and we're working. And it worked, and it made the scene that much better. And it was that moment where I sort of was like, this is exactly what I was born to do, was to do this, was to act, was to tell stories, was to work in the film industry, was to be a part of this really collaborative process with other people. But to me, that isn't Hollywood. That isn't the industry. That is a different thing. So I think I belong on set. I belong with the camera operators and the focus puller and the boom op and the chippies who are there making the sets. I love the grind. I love the way people work really hard. I love that the people that are on set have their own individual skill sets, and you take that person out of the equation and the entire building comes falling down. I love that, you know, everyone on set is there for the same reason. They're there for the same goal. And I love the sort of solidarity. I love the friendships and the relationships that I've made throughout the years. And those are for me is what makes this business so special. And that is the version of the business that I definitely feel like I belong to.
What was the biggest obstacle you overcame that allowed you to turn the projects that influenced you into your own language?
I think it's probably figuring out what I want in life. This business has a way of sort of taking over your life, and it takes the steering wheel away from you, and you can go off into the distance, and all of a sudden you lose control. And for me, what I've realized is I want to remain the same person and still be that young kid who's from London who loves to play golf and loves to meet up with his mates and loves to just have fun and enjoy themselves. And I think this business can really swallow people up. And I think for a while I was kind of heading in that direction. I was like, maybe I'll move to LA and maybe I'll have a life over there and that's who I'm going to be. And I'm going to try and be the biggest movie star in the world. And now I've completely changed tune, and it's about, I want to make films that I'm really passionate about, and I want to work with people that I really look up to and admire. I want to learn from people, and I've sort of lost the aspirations of being a famous person and sort of gained these new goals of just being a creative person who likes to work with people. And I think for me, it's been a massive turning point, because it's meant that I can enjoy my work in the present rather than thinking about the future of what does this film do for me? Does this film make me, am I going to win an Oscar for this role? Or is this film going to make $1 billion? It's more just about, I'm here now making a film. I love these people I'm working with, and I just want to have a good time. And at the end of the day, we'll hopefully make a great film. But if we don't, we don't. And I think for me, figuring out that has meant that the future of my life looks much brighter. Regardless of how much money you make or how many followers you have on Instagram, my future me that I can see now looks way happier than he did 2 years ago. And for me, that's a great thing to have figured out. I think one silver lining from this pandemic for me is that it was the first time I'd sort of taken a break from work for years. I've just been working non-stop, and I've been so lucky to be doing so, but I sort of lost sight on what it meant to be at home and enjoy time with your family. So I think I've learned that taking a break is as important as taking a good job. So I've become very selective and choosy as to what I want to do next. And I look forward to finding the next job and finding the next project where I can, transform or become someone else, or make another Spider-Man movie or something like that. It could be anything. But for me, it's more about me now than it is about my career. And I feel really great that that's the case.
What keeps you optimistic that this industry will be able to rebound?
I'm optimistic about a world without COVID. I'm optimistic about a world rebuilding itself, people coming out of this horrendously dark tunnel that we've been in for so long. I hope that people will be able to find the silver linings and move forward. And I know it's been so difficult for some people, and I realize I have been so unbelievably lucky during this pandemic. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I really hope that it comes soon, because we need it and people need it. And that's what I'm optimistic about. I think there'll be a turning point hopefully soon. And I think, that's far surpasses anything. Like, I can't say that, I'm optimistic about, I don't know. That's what I'd hope to see.